All right, this is my exercise science creative project. For our project here, we're going to have Abby as our participant. So a little background on her. She is a 21-year-old female. She's 1.6 meters tall, or 5 feet 4 inches, and she weighs 59 kilograms, or 130 pounds. She currently participates in 60 minutes of moderate to hard intensity exercise a day, totaling to 360 minutes a week. She also participates in weight resistance training 3 times a week, and that's usually for about 30 minutes when she participates in that. She also works as a nanny, so she's on her feet, kind of an active job, doing everything that the family needs. So for hobbies, she plays disc golf twice a week, and that involves usually 2 to 3 miles of walking as well. So kind of a lot of activities going on in her life. By ACSM guidelines, she's considered active based on her exercise and how often she does it. So ultimately, her goal for this exercise program is to improve her flexibility within 8 weeks to the 70th percentile. She also wants to maintain cardiovascular endurance and muscle strength while she's going through this flexibility training program. So we also have a program for her to continue to do that she can follow. She has 15 minutes a day to do the flexibility program, so we have catered it to that so that she can be able to do that. And we'll talk about where she is currently in her flexibility and how 70th percentile is a good stretch for her and is a realistic goal. Her pre-exercise assessment here, she did a PAR Q+ for her pre-exercise assessment, and she answered no to all of the initial questions. So by that criteria, she is cleared for physical activity. She signed it and everything, we got it good to go. By doing that, we also gathered some basic data from her. So her resting heart rate is 64 beats per minute. Her resting blood pressure is 112/75. She has no family history of CVD or CMR and no signs or symptoms of those either. So by this criteria, she is cleared to participate in the exercise program without previous clearance from a doctor. Her resting metabolic rate is 1,632 kilocalories a day, and her total energy expenditure is 2,720 kilocalories a day. Going along with that as well, her BMI is 22.31, and her waist to hip ratio is 0.754, which are both in the normal and healthy range based on normative data. So, jumping in a little further, we did a Queens College step test to determine her cardiovascular ability. Due to her very active lifestyle and her continual running, it was no surprise that she came out with an excellent VO2 max. And her estimated heart rate for the test was 199. When we initially got her pulse by palpation, her 15-second pulse count was 14, which is an estimated heart rate of 56 beats per minute. So she did the step test according to the criteria. She had an AirPod in that gave her the cadence that she followed for 88 beats per minute, and she continued to step up and down, and her pulse was measured at minute 3:05 to minute 3:20, and her pulse count was 25. So her estimated heart rate at the recovery time was 100 beats per minute. That was used with the equation down here on the bottom to predict her VO2 max, which ended up being 47.34 milliliters per minute per kilogram. And comparing that to the normative data value chart here on the bottom as well, that puts her in the excellent category and the 85 percentile rank. So according to this test, she has a very good VO2 max. She's very healthy and is in excellent VO2 condition for her age and her gender. Going on to muscular endurance, we did the push-up test for this one. She did 31 push-ups to failure. That, compared to normative values of women in her age, puts her in the excellent category. It's actually off the chart. It's so excellent. So she is an excellent muscular endurance, and that was determined through the push-up test, and she did as many reps as she could on her knees, as seen in the video, and 31 was her total reps. Moving on to muscular strength, we did the YMCA bench press test to determine a normative value that we could have plugged in and used for her 1 rep maximum prediction. She did 28 reps to failure following the cadence with an AirPod in her ear. And she was using a 35-pound bar, a woman's weighted bar. This amount of reps put her in the 70th percentile for the YMCA bench press test. That number was also used in calculation to determine her 1 rep maximum prediction, and her absolute value was 27.88 kilograms. Taking that and dividing it by her body weight, we get a relative 1 rep maximum prediction of 0.472 kilograms. Comparing that to the chart on the very bottom against normative values of her age and sex, that puts her in the above average, just below the well above average category. So muscular strength is also very good with Abby here, as well as her endurance. Her body composition, or BMI, was determined by her weight divided by her height. So her weight was 130.1 pounds, and her height was 5 feet 4 inches. So that correlates to 58.97 kilograms and 1.63 meters. So calculating her BMI is 22.31, which is in the normal range for her height versus weight for BMI. So here we did a flexibility sit and reach test. We made this little makeshift box that she could push this little book up and we can measure how far it went. Our trial number 1 was 9 inches. Then it continually went up through each trial until her 4th trial, which was 12.25 inches. So this rating correlates to a 31 rating, which can be used on her chart against women of her same age, and it puts her in the 50th percentile. With this being the lowest of the trials that we did, or the different tests we did to assess her overall flexibility and body health, this is kind of the main area of concern for her, main area of interest to improve. She is currently at the 50th percentile, and she wants to move up to the 70th percentile. And if we look at the normative values, that's only a difference of 4 in her rating, which seems achievable to her over 8 weeks of a continual exercise program tailored to flexibility. So with that being said, here's her overall fitness assessment form with all of the data, and we can clearly see that the flexibility and balance area is the one that is lower than all the rest of them. With that being said, the flexibility training program designed for her first through 8 weeks is targeted for a full body because we want to ensure that all the body is being warmed up, but primarily her hamstrings and quads are of main concern because she has reported that those are usually really tight, and she does not report very good stretching habits. So here we have these 11 different exercises that we can use for her. Each of them vary in sets and duration, but they're all targeted to be around 15 minutes. So the shoulders, we have a little bit longer but less sets. Triceps, we have more sets and shorter duration. And that kind of continues all the way through to the glutes, hamstrings, quads, and calves. Those are kind of where we are going to put more of our time by putting more duration and more sets in. So with our glutes, we're going to have 3 sets of 20 seconds, which will total a minute. Our hamstrings will total a minute and a half with 3 sets, 30 seconds each. And consideration with these, we will switch the legs halfway through each of the durations. So for the glutes, we'll switch at 10 seconds, hamstrings will switch at 15 seconds from right to left. The quads, same thing, we'll alternate each leg at 15 seconds, do 3 sets of 30 seconds each. And our calves, we will do for 10 seconds, 4 sets total, and we will alternate each foot between each set. So this should only take 15 minutes. Each of the durations and sets were adjusted accordingly so that more of the emphasis was on the legs, but still incorporating core, upper body, arms, and legs. So here's our overall flexibility training program for Abby for these 8 weeks to improve her flexibility, targeting those legs, which will help her to get into that next category of 70%, which she is after. Going along, here's some cardiovascular training program that we designed for her. She is currently very active with cardiovascular already, but this is more of a scheduled thing here. So we are going to basically, this is our first through 8 weeks, and we're going to just focus on moderate to hard intensity like she already is doing, with some HIIT workouts, some tempos, and overall just interval training as well. And then lastly, our resistance training program. This is also going to be prescribed to her to help her, but it's mostly just to keep her strong in what she's already doing. So each of these are broken down into her 1 rep maximum for each exercise, which was reported by her based on the chart of I can do this many reps at this weight. And we broke it down 75% for the 1st through 3rd weeks, 85% for the 3rd through 5th week, and 90% for the 5th through 8 weeks to try to get that most resistance training program that we can. So overall, these goals are to help her to maintain her resistance training and her cardiovascular abilities, but increase that flexibility, as we saw that as the biggest emphasis for improvement, and it's clearly being able to do through this flexibility training program. So that is why I designed what I designed, and the tests that we did to assess those different body functions, and we will see how she does after 8 weeks. Thank you.